Good evening. I'm Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Together, the largest conservative grassroots organizations in the country. One of the reasons why I believe that Turning Point USA is the most important organization in America is because we go to places where there are not a lot of conservatives.
It was
There's a
photoshopped
difference between
as
labeling and
that.
hold on. These tattoos are not photoshopped. They're
No, they're not.
labeled. Do you know the difference between a labeling and a Photoshop?
I understand.
Political activist and founder of Phoenix-based Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, has been shot at an event.
Officials say the shot was fired just after the noon hour. Kirk was struck in the neck, a fatal wound.
Within hours of Charlie Kirk's assassination, our president called him a friend. And then, in the same breath, blamed Democrats for what happened to him.
The radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis.
These responses from both the left and the right are not about mourning and grief. It's about weaponizing a tragedy, and it shows how absolutely broken America's political divide has become. Now, this is a story that many of you are probably already familiar with just because of how much it has been covered in mainstream media within the past 2 weeks. For those of you who haven't heard about this or didn't really know who Charlie Kirk was until this assassination, Charlie Kirk was a very prominent right-wing political activist who was involved with the media. There are many clips of Charlie Kirk circulating the internet. Kirk was also a co-founder of this organization called Turning Point USA. And this was an organization that aimed at spreading conservative belief systems to young people on college campuses and to discuss topics like economics, immigration, race, according to the New York Times. Now, Charlie Kirk was a huge figure in debate culture. You could probably find clips of him. No, you can definitely find clips of him debating college students across campuses in the nation. And he would debate students about topics like social and political issues. He was a very polarizing figure. People either really loved him or really hated him.
My grandpa on my dad's side entered in illegally.
Okay, so I'm not here to insult your grandpa, right? But we must be very clear that the type of immigration that we support is when you follow our rules and you come on our terms.
The women of the West are miserable, and they're miserable for a reason, because we've told them to suppress how they are made by God and pursue something else and get a bunch of trinkets and get a bunch of promotions, and they end up at 38 years old with a big flat in London, and they're miserable. And we should tell them to stop freezing their eggs and start finding their partner earlier and have lots of babies.
You should not be getting rid of protections that are ensuring
like what?
That
Tell me what you are talking.
You're quite literally getting rid of
DEI is not a protection. DEI is an elevation. It's a different thing. DEI is not a protection against discrimination. DEI is an elevation, which is discrimination. DEI is that I'm going to take this group of people and promote them, not based on anything they've earned. DEI stands for didn't earn it, just so you know.
Charlie Kirk was known for these debates and known for his viewpoints. Some people believe that he told things how they really were and brought the traditional values back into young people's minds. And others believe that he spread very harmful messages with some of the things that he would say in these debates. And while attending one of these debates at Utah Valley University, he was assassinated. And according to reports, the BBC states that Charlie Kirk was sitting under a white gazebo in front of a crowd of nearly 3,000 college students. And immediately after being asked a question about mass shootings in the United States, BBC reporters wrote that a single shot was heard, and that is when Kirk essentially slumped in his chair, as written in these reports, with a visible neck wound that was bleeding profusely. Kirk was transported to a nearby hospital where he eventually succumbed to his injuries at the age of 31. And since Charlie Kirk's passing, the alleged assassinator has been arrested and is in custody and is being charged with aggravated murder and other crimes, according to the AP. And there has been no motive for this alleged assassinator that has been officially released by Utah prosecutors or officials, but texts that have allegedly been sent between the alleged assassinator and his roommate state that he had, quote, had enough of his, meaning Charlie Kirk's, hatred, and that some hate cannot be negotiated. That is quoted from the text that he had allegedly sent his roommate. So there has been no official motive, but people are pointing to this text as a potential one, though nothing has been confirmed as of when I'm recording this. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has caused an absolute storm. An absolute storm in American political and social spheres. People feel very, very, very strongly about what happened. The responses of the American people and even members of our government were dictated almost entirely by politics. How we are responding to this has very little to do with the actual tragedy itself, with the tragedy of a man getting gunned down in front of 3,000 plus people, in front of his wife, in front of his children. People do not feel strongly because of those things. They feel the way they do about the situation because of where they sit on the political spectrum.
This is such bullshit. I've never been so pissed in my whole life. They just murdered Charlie Kirk right here in Utah. I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit. I just saw blood squirting out of his neck. I love that guy. He would have been our next president. I am so pissed right now. Why do they always come with fucking violence?
There are a lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people.
Nearly 2.5 hours after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, President Trump announced his death on his Truth Social platform. Hours after this post, our administration published a video to the official White House website, the government website, where Trump speaks on Kirk's assassination.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah.
Within this address to the people, Trump directly blamed, and I quote, radical left rhetoric for Kirk's assassination.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
I want to be very careful with how I present this information because I have my own biases, I have my own opinions on this entire situation, but I want to stress the fact that the president said this, that the president went on the government website and blamed the assassination on a large fraction of his population. And this is an extremely bold statement to make. This is such a bold statement to make because Trump has credibility. He is the president of the United States. And he said this during the same day of Charlie Kirk's death. And no information about the assassin or why he did it was known by Trump or investigators at the time that this video was published. And judging by his statement, Trump seemingly assumed the assassinator had a political motive that was influenced by democratic ideology. And this is very dangerous, and it has been proven to be dangerous because this assumption about the assassinator, as well as the entire political party that is supposedly responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk, it became the catalyst for a civil war among our people.
Mother fucking animals! You liberal, progressive, deranged fucking animals.
I was very disgusted when Charlie Kirk got murdered and the first thing we heard out of the president's mouth is the left did it. How irresponsible can you be?
Charlie Kirk just got shot.
We have Democratic elected officials who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, the best and most effective
not true
debater of our time.
All they do is lie.
Activist, really. I think debater is really downplaying.
That's not true.
Ultimately.
Here, she's lying.
Yes.
In what way?
What is the lie?
Name me one prominent.
there?
They are at war with us. whether we want to accept it or not, they are at war with us. And what are we going to do about it? How much political violence are we going to tolerate?
For many conservatives, Kirk's death was not just a personal loss, but it was proof of the political persecution that the narrative surrounding his assassination is claiming. These people met his death with mourning and grief and a renewed loyalty to the Republican Party. And this has created a ton of tension between the parties, between Republicans and Democrats, because Democrats didn't like Charlie Kirk. And this, along with what they might view as Trump's immediate weaponization of Charlie Kirk's death, fueled a starkly different response to this assassination.
A win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say. A win is a win.
There were some that were apathetic to his death. There were some that were happy about his death. There were some that were saying he deserved to be assassinated. Some even went as far as to mock Charlie Kirk on social media or outright and openly celebrate the death of this person. And looking at this assassination, it's crazy that these are the responses from both sides, because a man was just shot and killed. It's concerning. It's so concerning because it's almost like the reality of the situation is so far over people's heads. It's so far over people's heads because they view this through the lens of this political division that is so bad in America. They view it through this lens and they don't process the fact that this is real. This is real. And what people don't understand is that you can't support this action, but you also can't unite behind it. A human life was lost, and we, as Americans, responded tribally to our political party. We turned Charlie Kirk's death into a political football that we are still, to this day, 2 weeks later, are hurling at each other at full speed. These responses are a clear testimony of our insistent and, I would say, even indoctrinated need, our absolute need to blame our political opponents for all that goes wrong in the world. Blame this party. Okay. You're blaming me. Well, I'm going to celebrate it. Well, he deserved it. These reactions deepen our divide, and it goes to show how much it distracts us from mending it. Mainstream outlets took to Charlie Kirk's assassination like a moth to a flame. With all the headlines and the social media posts and the urgent updates, the urgent update articles that were released every 20 minutes, you couldn't get away from this story. People who never even knew who Charlie Kirk was all of a sudden knew who he was, knew he was assassinated. The coverage of Charlie Kirk in these stories initially started with the facts of what happened, but the why of this situation, the reason behind the assassinator's actions, was something that we and even our administration could only speculate on. And the chaos and the division that Charlie Kirk's death brought upon America was at the forefront of the public's mind. And while we were fixated on this assassination, there was something else that was going down on the day of his death. Something that has been one of the few things that has seemingly mended this division, that has been able to unite both Democrats and Republicans against the bad actors in our government. On September 10th, as news outlets were pumping out stories about Charlie Kirk, the U.S. Senate voted 51-49 to halt or table Senator Chuck Schumer's measure that would have required our Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. This is what the American people, both Democrats and Republicans, have wanted for years, if not at least a decade. We could have finally had this information, the information that we have been asking for this long. The information that we need to hold our political officials and all the powerful people in this country who have been involved in Jeffrey Epstein's child trafficking ring accountable. But we don't have it. We don't have this information. And we don't because the measure to release this information was blocked by the vote that happened on September 10th. While the nation, while our president was addressing Charlie Kirk's assassination and blaming our political opponents for it, while we were pointing fingers at each other, arguing over radical left rhetoric, encouraging political violence and celebrating the death of this individual, and blaming entire political parties for this assassination, this vote went unnoticed by a large portion of the American population. And this all goes to show that Charlie Kirk's assassination was not just a tragedy, it was a distraction. We were told to lock into a social battle over which party to blame. Meanwhile, the Senate quietly blocked the release of the Epstein files. And that's what the real danger here is in this entire situation with Charlie Kirk. I mean, our outrage, our finger pointing, and our endless cycles of accusations, turning away from the people who are actually responsible to put the blame on our own people. Our ability to take a person's assassination and use our political belief systems and our political affiliation to either justify the assassination or to encourage violence against the opposing party. It's a mirror that shows us how divided this country has become. And conveniently, while we are fighting with each other over these things, corruption thrives. Corruption thrives in our government. It thrives in the shadows, where our scrutiny, our criticism, and our anger should be directed. Instead, it's directed at our own people, at our neighbors, at our friends, at our family members. And until we recognize these things, until we recognize how easily distracted we are by the social and political discourse that is manipulated and encouraged and incited by our political officials and higher-ups and powerful people, we will keep missing the bigger picture of events like Charlie Kirk's assassination. We will keep allowing and even welcome tragedies to turn into political footballs. And we'll keep letting the people in power decide what we know, how we should feel about what they allow us to know, and what they prefer to stay hidden. So keep these things in mind the next time you hear a political official or someone with a lot of power claim that your political opposers are the aggressors. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.